Anambra discussion segment. This is Tuesday morning. How are you? It's raining out there. I'm sure it's not going to disturb your movement today because we are here, all of us, the presenter, the producer, everybody, camera guy, my director. We're already here working, so no excuse for you. Okay, welcome indeed. Today, we're going to look at a topic that I'm sure a whole lot of us will want to hear because I don't know what happened to this thing that used to be very delicious and very cheap that you can get anywhere in the village. But all of a sudden, it becomes an essential commodity. Okay, exploring the role of bees in food security, nutrition, and sustainable agriculture. It's the topic for this morning, and this is in commemoration of the 2025 World Bee Day. You know what is bee? Okay, I'm going to show you one, but if it bites you, okay. Okay, the theme of this year says, be inspired by nature to nourish us all, emphasizing the vital role of bees and other pollinators in ensuring food security and nutrition. This is what we are cut out for this morning. And you know that this is a specialized area because I can't even get close to a baby bee, not to talk of a big one. So we've got a professor that is going to help us look at that. He is Professor Chidi Emmanuel Akunne. Professor Akunne is a professor of zoology and an expert in entomology. He has a specialty in bee management and honey production and is the director of Honey Bee Research Center, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Anambra State, Nigeria. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, it's good to have you here. And I hope the intro I gave you, it's in order.
Yes, you are right.
Okay, maybe in the course of discussion, if there are other things you want us to know, you can attach them.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, let's kick off by finding out exactly what is bee. Can you describe bee for us?
Yes.
So that if I see one, I'll recognize it.
Well, bee is one of the beneficial insects that are noted for honey production and pollinating activities. They are very small creatures, but very wonderful in what they do. Our survival today depends on their activities to a larger extent.
Our survival?
Yeah, survival. Because if you remove them from our planet, we have only 4 years to live. That is proved.
Are you serious?
Of course.
If you remove bee from the planet?
If they are all eliminated, as we are seeing, that's why we are celebrating today. If you remove them, you have only 4 years to live because you won't have any food, any fruit, any vegetable to take, except very few that are wind pollinated, but they are very minimal. So that is it.
Okay, this bee, in our palace, they say, so, any other insect that is closely related to bee before we get to find out why they are too essential?
Yes, like the wasps, we call it ebu. They are related to them, okay, but they are not the same because those ones, they don't have any, if I say, beneficial economic importance, though they play their role as national enemies in controlling of certain insect species.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to know the importance of this bee, but before then, can you give us an overview of where you can find bees? Are they everywhere?
Of course, bees are insects, and insects are found everywhere in the universe, except in ocean. So they are terrestrial animals as well, so you find them everywhere. Even in Africa, is not seasonal. You find them all the year round, especially the one we call honeybee, the Apis mellifera adonsteni. So these ones are the one we kind of domesticate for honey production and these pollinating activities. That is the major issue of our discussion for today.
Honeybee, do we have other bees other than the honeybees?
Yeah, we have, stingless bees, we have solitary bees, but the honeybee we are talking about, they are social because they live in colony.
Do other bees produce honey?
Yes, the stingless bee produce honey, but not in large quantity as the honeybees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get to know why you say that if you remove bee from the planet Earth, that will have only 4 years to live, every human being. What does that mean?
Well, you know that, like I said, their existence on Earth prove more of our survival because the food you eat, over 75% of what you enjoy today as your food, they are insect pollinated. And bees are the greatest pollinator of all these food crops. So if you remove them from the planet, we talk about food insecurity. And once you don't have anything to eat, you are bound to go hungry. And you know, the process of going that, definitely one has to give up.
Let me calm down a bit because I was almost scared with that. Have you heard of anything called GMO and how people just produce food from nothing and then present to us?
Well,
you don't think we can sustain ourselves with that? It would.
That's why
putting the bees aside.
I'm sure in Nigeria, I remember some months ago when, I don't know the quarter that's talking about, bringing in that GMO, whatever maize, and people are reacting to that because of the negative effects it has on people. Most of them are cancerous. You eat them, you will die because once you eat those ones that cannot sustain you, that will induce again.
Things that are not natural.
Natural. That's why we always, even in the honey we are talking about, there's what we call organic beekeeping, where you don't apply any fertilizer, you don't apply anything chemical, so that when you get to your honey, you are using natural, pure honey that is not adulterated.
Okay. And then, okay, let's leave GMO apart now. Now that you are trying to tell us how important it is, what other importance can we attach to bees?
Well, when we talk about
apart from pollination and production of honey.
Good. There are other hive products or bee products like propolis, which is medicinal. Like I said it last year when I was invited here for the same. Propolis is more medicinal compared to honey. There's what we call royal jelly, the pollens. All these are bee products. Even the honey wine, byproduct of that extraction got from bees. So a lot of
honey
products.
Wine.
Honey wine.
But their main production is honey. So
honey.
When they produce honey, you can now from honey produce honey wine.
Yes.
And poly whatever. What do they call it?
Royal jelly.
Royal jelly.
Propolis.
Propolis, yes.
Good.
What are those ones for?
They are for, like beeswax is for candle making, cosmetics, and a lot of cosmetics products we use. Then when you talk about honey wine, you know it's a beverage. People enjoy it. Then the royal jelly is used for producing children confectionaries. Those beverages you use for infants. So they're very good because they're proteinous. Yes, so many of them are there in the market.
Okay. Well, let's get to this production and harnessing of bees. Growing up, I know that they stay in the bushes. So when we come back for Christmas holidays, and then the boys among us venture into the farmlands, and they will come back with a honeycomb. You know, everybody will be feasting on it, and it's you know, kind of a thing. So how, apart from that, is there any other way you can get this bee? I mean, this honey
yes.
from the bee.
What you just talked about, we call that one honey hunting. And it's disastrous to bees.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nobody can go to beehive or bee nest and harvest honey without receiving thousands of bee stings. It's not possible. So when you do that, you must accompany yourself with naked light in order to kill the bees to harvest honey. So we condemn that in total. That's why we practice what we call beekeeping. The process of beekeeping is more modern because there you provide homes for the bees that we call beehives. Then there are kits you use, like the bee suits. You have your smokers and other hive tools you use in working the bees so that you harvest them without injuring the bees.
Okay, go on. And apart from keeping them in the house, this one is if you want to go and harvest outside. Okay, but now you can keep them.
You can keep them.
You can rear bees in the house.
Yes, in apiary. There's a place we call apiary where you have hives. Like in Unizik where I have mine.
Tell us how to do it, how to keep bees.
Okay, if you want to have a bee farm apiary, there are conditions that you must put into consideration. One, availability of water source. There must be a stream, clean one, where bees, because bees are always clean in their nature. They don't like any filthy environment. They don't like dirty water. So anywhere you find bees, that place is sanitized, they are clean. So you must have a clean source of water. In absence of that, you improvise by adding water in little saucepans and put pebbles for bees to perch on. Then you must have a place that is not hilly, neither is slopey. It must be a very fertile place where you have windbreaks. Make sure that there is availability of plant producing pollens and nectar, because they are very important. So they are one of the factors you must put in place when considering establishing a bee farm. And of course, if you have the resources, you have to protect them by fencing it to avoid being attacked, because some people will go there, throw stone, and thereby disturbing your bees. And when bees revenge, it's always brutal. That's why you must keep them away from where residential houses are closed, or schools, or whatever. So if you come to Unizik, where I have apiary, is within the science village, but outskirts of it, so it doesn't disturb. So that is how.
Outskirts.
Yes, outskirts of that science village.
It doesn't disturb. It doesn't disturb, and nobody disturbs them.
Nobody disturbs, because there are signs and warnings that bees are there.
Let's talk about the productivity.
Yeah.
So how does it produce honey, and then what quantity can be harnessed at a particular point in time?
Okay, depending on the size of hives, availability of pollen and nectar producing plants, and availability of those resources I just mentioned.
Okay, when you say hives, is the bee that build the hives? Okay, the quantity of bees.
Yes, well, I said hives. The hives are just a house for them, an enclosure where you have your either frame hives or tall-bar hives, where bees will now live.
Oh, okay.
It's artificial, because when you talk about the natural one, they have their nests either in hollow.
That's why I asked, because they build their
They build this naturally. That's why we mimic what they build in their natural environment to establish our modern hives, because you must have such in line with what is in existence in the wild. Otherwise,
I was thinking maybe you just gather the bees and they start building.
No, you must have those hives.
Okay.
Method of hiving or putting your bees in the hive, there are methods. Either you attract them.
How do you even get the bees?
Okay, there are pheromones if you want to attract them. You can get swarms. Swarms, these are bees that left their original home, maybe because of their quantity. Because once they grow a population, definitely during May, April, March, April, May, they are bound to swarm. Some will leave the hive. Then if you are fortunate enough, you collect or you harvest those ones and put them in your hives. There are people that sell packaged bees, that is, they have so many colonies. You can approach them and buy one to establish your own farm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And apart from what you are doing at UNIZIC, is there any other place to have bee production in this?
Yes, many of them. If you go to Abakaliki at Samegu Farm, they have there. If you go to Ibariam, yeah, they have few, because at least I have a friend that established one at Ibariam. Then at ADP, I remember when I was invited, we had one or two. So there are places you can buy that. Even in Soka area, they have. Though at Soka, the indigenes are practicing what we call bee having. Though they have poles and whatever they mount on treetops, but those ones, you cannot monitor the activities of bees, because the type of hive they have is quite different from modern beekeeping hives, where you can open the hive, do the inspection, and know the status of the bees you have. Yes.
And but they still produce honey as them, because I think honey is when they talk of original honey, they attach it to Nsukka area, that this is original honey from Nsukka. So it's like they produce it in a very large quantity there.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe because of this family and pockets.
Of course, like I said, there are places you have these honeybees in larger quantities. There are places you don't have because of farming activities. Okay. It's affecting us in UNIZIC too, because almost all the environment is clean. Some are using pesticides to, grow their crops, and those ones are detrimental to the bees. That's why we don't advocate for the use of fertilizer, all those pesticides around the vicinity. Okay. So some people still use it.
So how long am I going to cultivate this bee and before it start producing honey?
Well, what we know is that the build-up it doesn't take that time. Depending on when you start your bee farm, harvest in our locality here in Anambra State starts from November through March. So if you establish your farm by September, the tendency you start harvesting, that's January, February is there.
Really? 3 months?
That is it. The lifespan of bees, the queen, the drone, the worker bee, none will ever exceed 20-something days. That is from egg to adult. Okay. So the chances that you start receiving your, the dividend is 3-4 months.
3-4 months.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do to the bee or you give to the bee? What do they feed on so that they'll be able to produce enough quantity of honey?
We thank God here we have a lot of vegetation. Naturally, bees are wild animals. In as much as we keep them, they remain wild animal, because you don't control them, you don't feed them. They always go out and feed and come back.
Really?
No, that is it.
Even the ones in your garden?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a provision for them to go out and come back.
There is hive entrances where they will enter and leave. So they go out.
What if they go, they don't come back?
No, there's no way they won't come. And there's no way another colony of, a bee from a different colony will enter the other one. So they know and monitor themselves. They have pheromones that direct them that, oh, you are my brother, oh, you are my sister. So they know how they live. They cannot trespass. Yes, if they do, because at times there is such a trespassing. In fact, when you talk about these bees, there are 3 main cases. We have the queen, you have the drone, you have the worker bees. So among the worker bees...
That's what I mean when I asked you, are there types of bees?
Okay, no, in that aspect, yes. When you talk about the worker bees, they are still grouped into 3 or more. There are nurses, the ones that take care of the queen and drone, because the queen can go out, You feed her, do everything. Her job is to mate and lay eggs. The drone is lazy, it doesn't go out. The function is just there to mate with the queen. So the queen will be laying eggs. That's the laying machine, about 2,500 eggs a day.
Wow.
At the peak. So that's why the colony is always large.
Very busy.
Very busy.
3,000.
It's only.
And how long does it take to hatch the egg?
That's what I'm saying. For the queen, it's about 15 days.
The eggs will be hatched.
Hatched.
And you have new bees.
We have new bees. For the drone, because these 3 cases, they don't hatch the same day. The 3 types of bees in a colony. The queen has its own number of days. The drone has its own. The worker bees has its own. So in that order. But the problem is that the worker bees, these are the bees that suffer because they work to their own death. They will work, they will defend the queen, they will back the queen, they will do everything for the queen. That is why they protect queen more than all these security guys protect our governor and president. They do that to the queen.
Okay, they feed the queen. They go out to fetch food for the queen too?
Of course.
What do they feed with? You give them food?
No. They go out to the field and get the pollens and nectar.
And bring back to the queens?
To the hive, not only for the queen, they use it, that is their food. The honey you enjoy today is not for you. It is for their own uses. But the issue is that because we have seen the important properties or values of those honey, that's why we are now using this hive. Because when you talk about hive, there are layers. The super is where honey is stored. The brood chamber is where the queen and the younger ones lay egg and rear up the younger ones. But in actual sense, honey is meant for them. Because some people will tell you that honey is excreta. It is not. This food, prepared for their own use, stored for later use. But once you start rearing them, you provide space for them to store more honey, more than they can use. So at the end of the day, you just ask them to move down to their chamber, you collect the super and harvest the honey. That's why you see people harvesting it.
They feed on nectars outside.
Yes.
And they come back and they excrete honey for us.
Forget That's process because they use it, they will swallow everything. There's enzyme that will work on it.
Digest it.
Good.
And then
regurgitate.
Regurgitate, they vomit?
Yes, of course, mouth to mouth.
They don't excrete?
No, they don't. They don't. Mouth to mouth. Because they feed the ones. There are some workers that don't even go to the field. They are there taking care of the queen and the younger ones until they get to a certain stage. They now go to the field.
This colony, how did you guys get to know all this?
That's why we're entomologists.
Yeah. You live with them, you study them, and a whole lot of, because what you are saying now is so strange to me. You know, how they go out and they do all these things, and then it's like, okay, let's talk about the drone, that his duty is the gigolo. He just...
that is it.
He just sleeping with the queens, and that's all. And these other workers go out and feed him too, feed the queen and feed the drone.
Yes, but during scarcity period, July ending early August, because that time there's too much rains. So everywhere there's scarcity of those things. They'll chase the drones out of the hive just for them to die. That is it. So they chase them away.
Who will chase them?
The worker bees.
Really?
There are about 3 types of worker bees. There are those that guard the colony. There are ones that are foraging. There are nurses and undertakers. Undertakers are those ones that clean the hives, make sure that any filthy object in the hive must be taken away. So if there's any casualty, maybe dead bee or whatever, it is the undertaker will take it away and throw it far away from the hive. So that's their duty. That's where we learn all this embalming and whatever we are practicing today.
What?
Embalmment. Really? The undertakers, they are there to embalm. If there is any intruder, like lizard, some other insects that are not there, we sting that particular insect to death. because they don't like
it so that it doesn't
decay. Yeah. In the process now, if they cannot throw it away, they will use the propolis to seal it so that you won't even perceive any odor.
Really?
That is the work of the undertakers.
Okay. Okay, and then the queen just makes the baby, lay the eggs, make the baby, and then, you know, stays in the house just like that. I'd like to be the bee queen.
Well, that is it.
Okay, we are going to take a break here, and when we come back, we'll start looking at the theme of this year's celebration. Okay, welcome back. We are still looking at exploring the role of bees in food security, nutrition, and sustainable agriculture. You have heard from the Prof how all this happened, the role of bees in making sure that we live well. Then the theme this year says, be inspired by nature to nourish us all, emphasizing the vital role of bees and other pollinators in ensuring food security and nutrition. How can we do this? By way of concluding, Prof, how can we encourage the bees, or what role do we need to play to make sure that these things are sustainable?
Yes, you know, like I said earlier, many people use pesticides and other chemicals that are detrimental to our ecosystem. So to make sure we have a nice ecosystem, these chemicals should be prohibited. Or even if they will be used, they will be used according to specifications, because some people don't even read labels. They apply chemicals anyhow. So it's very important that we know all these ones and make sure that we practice what we call sustainable agricultural practices, where these things are done the way they should be done. So it's important we maintain all those.
Okay, but before I let you go, how do I differentiate between the original bee and fake bee? Because we discovered that this one that they do just, you know, put together and call it honey, not bee, sorry, honey.
Well, it's always good to have pure honey. At times, you won't even detect which one is adulterated.
I bought a bottle before it could finish. The half of it was just sugar.
That thing you call sugar is crystallized honey.
Oh, really?
But not all of them. Some people, in a quest to make money, they apply sugar. The only thing, the only advice I give to people is buy honey from the source you know.
So if I want to buy honey today, where do I get one?
I think...
Can I get one if I come through you?
Well, it's possible.
Okay.
Then there are good agents I know, but I've forgotten the name.
No, before you mention their name, you are going to pay me now.
Okay.
It's marketing. Okay. I'm just talking of location.
Yeah, location.
So we can get from Unizik. You have shop, honey shop?
No, in our department of zoology. So
you don't sell it. What do you do with the one you produce there?
That is it. I don't have shop elsewhere. You come to the department.
Okay,
collect
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Oh well. Thank you very much for coming. Professor Chidi Emmanuel Akunne, Professor of Zoology and an expert in entomology. And you're also a specialist in bee management and honey production. You're also the director of Honey Bee Research Center, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming this morning, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and that's how we're concluding this part of the discussion segment. Do stand by as we look at the second part of our discussion segment today, which is Nigeria heading towards a one-party system? We're going to talk politics. Everybody is a politician now and a political analyst. That's what even the grandmothers in the village do. So do stand by for that.